Okay, so I'm getting ready to install my very first dash camera that I've ever owned, and this is coming from a company called 70mi, and this is their 4K A810 dash camera model. And 70mi did sponsor this video, and I'm just going to walk through just my experience with this camera. Now, you can buy this camera all by itself, but 70mi also does sell this camera bundled with a rear-facing camera, so you can be covered from all sides. So I'll go over prices and stuff like that later, but the camera that they sent me is the bundle package with the rear-facing camera. And then you'll find all the cables and stuff to get these cameras connected and also powered. So you got this very long USB cable that you can plug in directly to a USB type A port in your car, or you can plug it into the cigarette lighter adapter that they also send with this dash camera, and then that has a USB type A port on it, and then you can just plug that into your cigarette lighter, and then now you'll be able to have the power going that way. And this adapter does have two USB type A ports, so you can have both cameras plugged in at the same time. And they also sent over this hardwire kit, so you can hardwire these cameras directly to your car, and that will allow a couple of features like being able to have these cameras monitor your car when it's turned off and you're parked somewhere. And so if someone was to run into your car or bump into your car, the cameras can turn on and start recording that particular event. But we'll get more into that a little bit later. Oh, and just to be clear, the hardwire kit is sold separately. And all right, so now I'm just going to show myself installing the front cameras, and they actually include a couple of these electrostatic stickers inside of the box, and they recommend putting this on the windshield and then attaching the cameras onto the outside of these stickers. And now I'm going to be sticking this directly under my mirror here, and I think that's a good location. Now let me go ahead and smash this down, and that should be good to go. Now this is the mounting bracket that has the little sticky tape on the back, and so let me go ahead and peel this sticky part off, and then now let me go ahead and get this in position. And on this electrostatic sticker here, it does have a place to show you where you need to put the camera, and I think that looks about right there. Okay, so the camera is in place. Now I need to take this very long USB type A to USB type C cable and then plug it into the camera and then run it along the inside of my car, and then I can put it all the way down to either my USB port in this car or into that adapter that comes with this camera. And so I know the lighting is not the best in the car, but anyway, it goes right into the USB-C port on the camera, and now I need to have some fun trying to route this in the inside of my car. Now 70mi does include a tool inside of the box that will help you kind of pry open some of these places here to be able to run the cables, but for me, at least at this part, I don't really need that tool. I can kind of just push it in with my fingers and just run it along the inside of my car. And now I'm just going to be pushing this down the side here in the car. And of course, this is where you can spend a little bit more time trying to be really neat and trying to find a solution that will hide this cable as much as possible. So just for the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that because I'm trying to do it one-handed. But again, at any point, if you don't feel comfortable installing this camera, you can always take this to like a car audio shop to get it installed, especially the hardwire way that you have to go into like the actual fuses of the car and stuff. Now at this point, all you need to do is plug the dash cam in, and now it has power. Now setup process takes around a couple of minutes or so, so I'm not going to really show you that. But the way you navigate the software on the dash cam is with these 4 buttons that are on the front. Now when you have the dash cam set up, the button on the left will allow you to switch between the front camera and also the rear camera if you do have one installed. And then also the other one will allow you to initiate an emergency recording. So if you are in an emergency, press that button and it'll take a clip of that particular time. And the button next to that will allow you to view the photos and videos that the dash cam has taken. And the last button will allow you to go into the settings of the dash cam. But you can also choose to control this dash cam via the 70mi app that's available for Android and iOS. So I'm connected to the camera via the app here on my iPhone. So now I can go ahead and maximize this image that is coming directly from the camera, and it works in real time. There's like a half-second delay, but yeah, it shows you the viewing angle and also the date and time at the bottom, and it shows you your speed and the exact coordinates that you're at. So all of this information is crucial for if you do get into a car accident, you'll be able to prove how fast you were going and then also exactly where everything happened and stuff. So yeah, I like having all of that information there. Now if we go back, you'll see an option to turn off or on the audio recording from the microphone. So if you want to record yourself singing in the car, you can do that. And then also you have this little camera icon, so when you press it, it will actually take a screenshot that will be saved to the photo album on your phone. Okay, so now it's time for me to show you the video quality because this is the most important thing when it comes to a dash camera. I don't care all the other specs that it can have. I want to see some really good video from it. And this camera definitely delivered. And the main reason why this is giving you some really good 4K HDR content is because it does have the Sony Starvis 2 image sensor. So the official name is the IMX678. But basically, this is one of 2 dash cams as of right now that has the sensor inside of it. So I'm familiar with the Sony Starvis lineup, and I can tell you that one of the main things that I notice here is that in all types of lighting conditions, whether it was in the morning or the middle of the day with the sun right in front of me or the sun behind me or at dusk or when it was completely nighttime out, the quality was very consistent all the way through. And that's what you're really looking for. So you have this sweet spot, in my opinion, in the middle of the frame that you're looking at, that you really want things to be sharp and clear and in focus. And this camera really delivered. And one of the reasons why this is possible is because 70mi has their own self-developed IQ tuning strategy. And basically, this is going to be trying to focus on the clarity of things like license plates and also to reduce the visibility of things that aren't really important when it comes to a dash cam, like tall buildings and trees and stuff like that. So license plates, the cars, and actually people are what is kind of the main focus for me. And it does a great job at all situations, in my opinion. And so most of the video that I'm going to be showing you is in 4K. It does have HDR in it, but if you do record in 1080p, you have the option between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. Now, the 60 frames per second is definitely going to be better if you want to slow down the footage. Things are just going to appear to be smoother, but you are going to be missing out on that extra resolution that 4K video gives you. And the reason why I mostly stick to 4K is because if you do need to crop in for any reason, that 4K resolution gives you those extra pixels to make sure when you do crop in, that quality is still going to be there more consistently and for longer than if you were trying to crop in into like a 1080p video. But in addition to lighting, the color reproduction is also very important when it comes to video, and 70mi delivered on this as well. And this is because they do have their exclusive My Color Vivid Plus image technology. That's the official name for it. But basically, this is going to be trying to really keep the exposure and the color accuracy and the stability all in check, and that all creates a very good image. And the one thing I want to focus on here is the video stabilization, because out here in St. Louis, the roads aren't always the best. So you can see that I was going over some bumpy, kind of uneven roads here that were being repaired or just all the way damaged, and the video maintained pretty well. There's a little bit of shakiness there, but in comparison to what my car was feeling at the time, it did a really good job at giving me some smooth video in all types of road conditions. But the true test for any dash camera is going to be how well it performs at night when you don't have a lot of light to work with. Well, the sensor on this camera is coming in at an aperture of f1.8, and an aperture like this is good for any camera because it will allow it to bring in more light. And so even at night, when I do focus in on the license plate, I can see it clearly. So this is what you're really looking for. That license plate is one of those things you want to make sure is in focus. So if you do get into a car accident or something crazy happens, you at least can identify the cars in the video that you're looking at. But let's pause for a second and talk about some of the core features of this camera. When you turn the car on, the dash camera will turn itself on and go ahead and automatically start recording. And then when you turn your car off, the dash camera will stop recording and save those recordings, and then of course turn itself off. And to save these recordings, you do need to insert a micro SD card inside of this camera, and 70mi does recommend using a micro SD card that at least has 32 gigabytes of storage. I would personally recommend maybe at least around 128 gigabytes of storage. And basically what happens over time is just going to keep recording, and when it runs out of storage, it will start to record over some of the older footage that you do have. Now, when you're ready to look at the footage from the camera, you can either connect to it via the app on your smartphone and you can browse those videos or photos there, or you can take out that micro SD card and plug it into your computer, and now you'll be able to pull up those files and they will be automatically separated from the front camera, and also if you are using a rear camera, and then also different events like an emergency event as well. Okay, so now I'm about to talk about some of these emergency video and parking features of this A810 dash camera. So the first thing, collision detection, which is very nice to have. So the dash camera does detect a collision, whether you hit a car or a car hits you or you run into a pole or something. something. Basically, again, the dash camera is always recording, but if it does detect a collision, it will go ahead and cut out that particular time stamp of that collision. So a little bit before and also a little bit after it detects the collision, it will save that frame of time in a own separate video and add it to that emergency video folder. Now, collision detection is hard on any dash camera, and this was accidentally triggered a couple of times with this camera, but it's really not a big deal. You just hear a little sound and it go ahead and let you know that it does detect a collision. So it didn't bother me at all. But if you do go over like a really big pothole or just some really big bumps in the road, it can trigger it. Now, again, you do have 3 different sensitivity levels to choose from. So if the roads around you are very bumpy, turn that thing down to low. Or if you have very smooth roads, you can turn that to high. But I kept it at medium. And, you know, again, it only accidentally triggered a couple of times, so it wasn't a problem for me. But now let's talk about the parking features. So for the parking features, when the car is turned off, you do need to have this dash cam hardwired to your car. But now you'll have access to features like Smart Guardian Guard mode, which basically the camera will be able to use AI motion detection to be able to identify things that are happening around your car. So you can see in this video clip, if someone is walking in front of it, it's kind of like, okay, what is that person doing? But if someone was to get really close to your car or put their drink on the car like this guy, it will go ahead and record a 30-second Smart Parking Guardian video and save that in the parking folder on your micro SD card. And this still will also support collision detection too. So if someone runs into your parked car, it will go ahead and save that video too. And you also have time-lapse recording, which is good for parking, where it'll basically take 15 minutes worth of video and compress it down to 1 minute. And this will help save on memory card space. And so this video will look very, you know, sped up and stuff, but this is a good way to have your car parked for a very long time, but still be able to capture things that are happening when needed. Oh, and this dash cam also does have ADAS built in, which stands for Advanced Driver Assistance System. So when you turn this on, it does take a few minutes to get it calibrated. And then now it'll give you some type of warning if it does detect that you are departing your lane when you're driving on the highway and stuff.
Lane departure.
Or someone is riding a bike and they jump out in front of you while you're driving. This has a good chance to be able to give you a verbal warning. Now, in the beginning of the video, I did mention that I had a rear camera, and that rear camera is the RearCam RC12 coming from 70mi. And this RC12 camera can only record at 1080p, so it's not going to be bringing you that same 4K nice crispy quality that you get with the main A810 camera here. Now, the rear camera does support HDR just like the front camera, and having both cameras having HDR means that, again, that overall video quality will be improved. And having both of these cameras doing this at the same time is pretty impressive for the computing power for this system. So it's actually good to see that in both cameras. But this is still something good to have, right? And it's a very easy bundle, especially if you don't know anything about dash cameras. It does plug in directly into the A810 unit. And then now you will be able to have the recordings for both the front camera and the rear camera all saved on that same micro SD card. And another nice part about this camera is that it does swivel up and down. So you don't have to move the entire unit. You can just tilt this down to the angle that you're looking for and then go ahead and leave it in place, and it's stiff but in a good way, right? So it's not going to be wobbling around or anything when you are riding around and hitting bumps and stuff. So I like that. All right, so now I'm just going to quickly go through some of the settings. And again, you can access all of these settings directly on the dash cam. You don't have to use the app, but here you'll be able to change the resolution of the video from 4K down to 1080p at either 30 or 60 frames per second. Also, you can change the duration from the clips from 3 to 2 to 1 minute. And also you can turn HDR on and off. And also some of those watermarks as far as the speed and location, you can turn those off so they don't show up in the video. And all the other settings are pretty much self-explanatory here. You can change the volume of the speaker and stuff, so I don't need to go through every single one of these. So yeah, for my first dash camera, I think I'm a little bit spoiled here, but I'm really liking the quality that I get from this and the ease of use with this, especially with the smartphone app. Now, as far as prices, I will be leaving some links down below to Amazon and also 70mi store page that you want to click on those to see the latest price. I know it will be less than $200 for the rear camera and the hardware kit bundle, but because they will be running promotions and things like they are right now, click on those links to see the latest price. So with that, I am out of here. Thanks for watching this video. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you think about the quality coming from this camera. And like always, I do want to thank you for watching, and I will catch you later. Peace.